Hello, my friends. Pastor Mark from Clinton Avenue Reformed Church is here to welcome you back to our children's stories, the parables of Jesus. We're halfway through. Today is our seventh parable. Time goes quickly, I think. Wow, does it? Today, I'm going to talk about the Jesus story about workers in the vineyard. Do you know what a vineyard is? I bet you know. Vineyard is a place where grapes are grown. And of course, you use grapes to make grape juice, grape jelly, all kinds of things. I like grapes. Do you like grapes? I hope you do. Well, once upon a time, Jesus said, there was a man who owned a vineyard, and it was harvest time. He needed to get those grapes picked. So he went down to the town square, said, okay, who's here? Who is looking for a job? And he hired those people early in the morning, and he sent them out to the vineyard, and they started picking grapes. You know, I bet if in the morning you go to places around your house, you'll find some day laborers. At least in my town of Bergenfield, they generally are by the Burger King and by the 7-Eleven. In the town just north of us in Dumont, they stand in the Stop and Shop parking lot. These are workers who don't have steady income. They'd like it, but they haven't been able to get any. And so they stand there and they wait to get hired for different jobs. I've hired them a few times when I've had big jobs to do and I've needed extra help. They actually put in some of the garden around the church. They helped me clean out an elderly lady's house that needed cleaning out. There's some really hardworking folks. I bet they would love a job where they had work every day, but they're not that fortunate. So these folks stand out there just hoping someone will hire them today. Same thing with the vineyard workers. This man went out early in the morning. He hired a bunch of vineyard laborers and they sat and picked grapes in the vineyard. See, I'll show you a picture of that. There you go. Hey, picking, picking food in the vineyard, agricultural workers. Well, this man who owned this big vineyard realized he hadn't gotten enough help. So he went out around noon. Most people are taking a lunch break. He's going out looking for more people. And he found some people in the square and he said, how come you're not working? He said, no one hired us. We really want to work. He said, come on, let's go. And he hired those people. Well, a few hours later, he realized he still didn't have enough workers. He went out again. Now it's in the afternoon. It's getting close to quitting time. He went out and he found a few more folks. And he said, you guys are standing here and I need help. And they said, we can't help it. No one hired us. Sorry. He said, look, go out. You pick in my vineyard. And at the end of the day, I'll give you whatever's fair. Okay. So all these folks are picking grapes all day. Now, I want to ask you a question. Suppose this man who owned a vineyard gave $100 to the people he had hired in the morning and only $10 to the people in the afternoon. That might seem fair because they had worked less, but it wasn't their fault. And would $10 a day be enough to support them and their families? See, this man who hired them, he wanted every worker to be able to get enough money to survive that day. And so at the end of the day, he brought in the workers who had only worked a few hours, and he gave them $100. Well, they were thrilled. They never expected to get that much, but that's the money they needed to live that day. The folks who'd been hired at 9 in the morning, they said, wow, those guys are getting 100. We must be getting a ton more than that. But when their turn came, they got $100 too. And they said, hey, this isn't fair. Those guys who worked just a couple hours got $100. And we only get $100. We worked all day. And the owner of the vineyard said to them, look, I'm generous with my money. You agreed to $100 and I gave you the $100. I can be compassionate to those people who didn't get to work all day, but they still need $100 to survive. It's my money. I can do what I want with it. What do you think? Do you think that was fair? Maybe, maybe not, but it sure was compassionate. If I had only worked a couple hours and I was stressing about how I would get my food that day, I'd be grateful that someone gave me the money I needed, even if I hadn't worked the whole day. What about you? If you were getting money and you hadn't worked that long, wouldn't you be grateful? See, maybe it's not fair, but it is compassionate. The vineyard owner had a heart. And whenever I've talked to our day laborers around town, I give them lunches every Thursday. We have a program at the church. And our Spanish speaking outreach man, Yvonne, and I go distribute lunches every Thursday. They tell me that they need at least $100 a day to survive. So if I'm going to hire them in the late afternoon, I'll give them $100 because I know they need it. Is it fair? Maybe not, but it is big heart. And I hope you realize how big-hearted God has been in giving you the wonderful things you have. Most of you watching this live in nice houses and have plenty of food. And, well, you don't have the stress of standing at a corner wondering if someone will hire you today. Let us be generous with each other and have a big heart, just like the man in Jesus' parable did. And that is the story of the vineyard laborers as told by Jesus. And I hope you learned a good lesson from it. I hope you enjoyed it. Please comment, like, share, invite your friends to hear these children's Bible stories, the parables of Jesus. I'm Pastor Mark of Clinton Avenue Reformed Church. God bless you today and this whole week to come.